Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family. And we are delighted that you have welcomed us into your home. We certainly would love to hear from you. So today we're live. We're taking your questions and your comments. Please give us a jingle at 1-800-221-9460. If you are calling and you are outside North America, you can reach us at area code 205-271-2980. And you can always send us an email with a question or a comment to jimandjoy@ewtn.com, and check us out on Facebook. Well, on Monday, we always, the week before, put a question out there for you. And the question was this: what are your thoughts on the upheaval over the possibility, operative word, of Roe versus Wade being overturned? And I know that there were many pro-life, pro-abortion rallies all over the country. When you hear some of the comments that the people say, it's so sad because they're so misinformed. And it's like, if we could just sit down and have a conversation, you can hear our wisdom and our truth and measured up against your lies and your misinformation. If you're a seeker of truth, I would pray that you would take that journey and say, well, maybe this isn't right, because abortion isn't health care. And, you know, they say they're taking away, you know, my rights. Do we have a right? Do we have a right to end the life of an innocent baby? Did we really have that right? And so there's so much. And believe it or not, it's going to escalate even more. And I know Pro-Life Weekly, Prudence does a great job of keeping us all informed.
Well, the media is going to carry the water for the pro-abortion industry. You know, we have pro-life, marches for life, other things going on. Rarely do you see anything, anyplace, anywhere. We have 500,000 people in Washington, D.C. Periodically, they say thousands of people. If it wasn't for EWTN, there wouldn't be any pro-life on media much at all. But people gather on the other side of this and they say, they said hundreds of thousands, hundreds and thousands of, really? I mean, really? But like you said, conversation would be great, but a lot of the activists on the pro-abortion side, they're not about a conversation. They're about dictating and sharing what they're going to share, threatening, intimidating, and you're right. So how do we respond? How are we praying for those that are opposing us? And so you've got some people on the far end that are so militant. You have other people that are kind of on a continuum of what they believe regarding pro-life and pro-choice. You got some pro-life people who claim to be pro-life that have exceptions in their thinking. I was that position at one point. How are we working with our people in the church? How are we working with our children? This is an opportunity, all that's going on with the media promoting it, so it's kind of everywhere. If it's pro-life, it's not anywhere. What are the conversations you're having with your children? What are you doing with yourself? How are you keeping your own composure? What is a pro-life spirituality? How do we stay centered? How do we have a serene confidence in the Lord, because the victory is won in the Lord Jesus Christ? Many battles, skirmishes, lives being taken, women being injured through abortion. We can love them both. We can love the preborn, we can love the women, we can love those on the pro-abortion side as far as we can do that. So we want to hear from you. Various agencies are going to be coming up. Optionline.org is great. If you're in a crisis pregnancy, you need post-abortion healing, optionline.org. EWTN.com/pro-life, everything pro-life there, all the different shows. A great book, What to Say When, by Sean Carney and Steve Carlin. Go to EWTNRC.com. We want to equip you because God's called you to be alive at such a time as this. But you need to be ready to give the answer for the hope that is within you, and to do it graciously, in an informed fashion, and with love. What do you think about the upheaval over the possibility, it's not even overturned, it may not be overturned, of Roe being overturned? 1-800-221-9460. Give us a call. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Don't go away.
welcome back. Well, remember that today we're taking your comments and your questions on our show today. So if you're watching, it's Monday, and we are really here, and we are live. It's 1-800-221-9460. If you are calling and you are outside North America, please reach us at area code 205-271-2980. You always can send us an email with a question or any comment to Jim and Joy at EWTN.com, and check us out on Facebook. Well, the question was this: what are your thoughts on the upheaval over the possibility of Roe versus Wade being overturned? And now we know that, there's a lot of debate going on, and it's really out there in the public. And it's best that you be informed so that you're being a credible witness into what you believe and how you can share that. Go to EWTN.com/pro-life. And it's going to give you all the information to have the conversation, and to have it always in love and in wisdom and in grace and in mercy. Because you never know the people that you're sharing with. They may be post-abortive, and you want to be loving and kind and gracious. And you want to be an advocate to extend healing to that man or that woman who may have made a poor life choice in the past, that God wants to give them grace and mercy and healing to move them from that.
And St. John Paul II said that some of those people on that other side, those who've had abortions, as they go through that process of confession and forgiveness, you will become some of the most eloquent spokespersons on behalf of the gospel of life. So some of those people on the other side may come over to our side, and those who have forgiven much will love much. So we have with us Eric Scheidler, Executive Director of the Pro-Life Action League. Visit their website, prolifeaction.org. Eric, wonderful to have you on board with us today. We wanted to get your take, just get your take on the question of the day and what you see happening with all the upheaval going on. How are we supposed to be responding to that? Just your assessment of what's going on and what's happening, your wisdom.
Well, number one, I think it's really critical that pro-lifers be out front and in public with the response to the Dobbs ruling. Once it finally comes down, we've seen a lot of acting out by advocates of abortion over the past several days, and especially over this past weekend. I know, rallying all over the country and getting a lot of news coverage and presenting this narrative that America supports Roe versus Wade. We have to be out there when the decision comes down, showing a celebration, showing that America is welcoming this change. I think part of the reason for this scandalous leak of this draft was to really throw us off our game. Can you imagine it would have been the greatest day of our lives. The day that Roe versus Wade was overturned officially, when it was a surprise, and we woke up to the news that day, and they took that away from us. They took away from us that incredible day of celebration that would have been such an incredibly, punctuated moment. But we can't let them get away with it, you see. And so we have to really commit ourselves to being out there in public. So one of the things we're doing here at the Pro-Life Action League and collaborating with some other pro-life organizations is to organize Decision Day rallies all over the country. So whenever that ruling comes, we're going to have rallies all over the country. In Chicago, where we're based, we're going to have that rally at noon. It'll be at locations all over the country, and we already have leaders signing up to hold those rallies, even though we don't know what day they'll be, at overturnroe.org. At overturnroe.org, you can find out about rallies. You can sign up to lead one if there's not one scheduled in your area. You can get our What's at Stake flyers that talk about Roe versus Wade, pass those out. Those explain what Roe really does. Because we're hearing an awful lot about how the American people supposedly support Roe versus Wade. And surveys do show, significant support for Roe versus Wade, 70% or so. But when people say that, they don't really know what they're saying.
Right.
What they really mean, and we know this from other survey data, is that they don't want to tell a poor woman who's facing a really difficult circumstance, especially if she's been an assault victim, that she has to carry a baby that she can't support, or that is a rapist's baby or something like that. They don't mean that they support the broad license for abortion that makes the United States one of only a handful of countries that allows abortion on demand through all of pregnancy, that Roe versus Wade actually requires of the states. So that support for Roe versus Wade is very thin, and people are incredibly uncomfortable with abortion. They want someone to come along and tell them that their feelings about abortion are right. And so that's us. We have to be the ones who say, you're right, you should be uncomfortable with abortion. Abortion tells a woman that a condition for her to participate in our society just might be that she has to get an abortion along the way. You know, our entire economy is rigged along the lines of accommodating men and their reproductive lives and their bodies, and not women. So there's a basic injustice built into our system because of abortion. Yeah. People need to hear that. And those are the resources and the tools that we're providing to people at this critical time, really encouraging every pro-life person to be engaged on this issue, be debunking the myths when they come along in those conversations with friends and family, and get out there in the streets on the day the decision comes down, probably in late June, to show the American people and show the media and show the Supreme Court and show the Democrats who are pushing abortion so hard, and those few pro-choice Republicans as well, that America is not comfortable with abortion, and we want to start reining in this abortion monster that has wreaked so much havoc in our country.
Eric, thank you so much for your input. You have a great organization. Go to prolifeaction.org, prolifeaction.org. All resources there. And, you know, I just got an email from a media missionary, as a matter of fact. So we oversee the EWTN media missionaries, I do. And she was saying, you know, hey, I'm an educator. I work in a Catholic school with young children. And so all this is coming up. You have to have a conversation about it. And she said, you know, most of our children said, well, they believe in pro-life, they're pro-life, but on the exceptions, that there was a majority for rape, incest, severe abnormality, and allowing abortion in the circumstances and situations. So what do I do? What do I say? Or how do we go about this? Or and so on. And that's important. If you don't know the answers to that, you need to find out. I mean, there's plenty of resources, and we gave you some of them at the beginning. And prolifeaction.org, I think, is Eric's book. He has a wonderful booklet on, you know, when they say this, you say that. What are the questions, the hard issues, and how we address that with our children and with other people and with people who are pro-life, like I was, and had exceptions. That you really have to nail down the humanity of the unborn. It doesn't have to be through religious means. It's scientific, it's medical, it's physiological, it's genetics, that this is a human being from the very moment of conception. So that has to be nailed down, and then see pictures of fetal development, if it's possible, at different ages. Look at images of abortion. And so once that gets inside of you and you say a human being is a human being, and that it is never right, in terms of the natural law and in terms of the teaching of the church, to kill an innocent human being, no matter how they're conceived, no matter how sick or ill that they are. When somebody said that to me finally, I got it. So I was pro-life across the board, except for those exceptions, and I wasn't a radical pro-abortion person. I didn't have all the information. And somebody said, Jim, you know, you're saying you're pro-life, but these are human beings just like those who were conceived that way, and we can't kill. And it came to me immediately. Somebody just helped me a little bit along the line. And so, can you do that? Do you understand that? Do you have the information? And the different arguments that they're making? How many times are they going to say, it's my body, my choice, get your hand, you know.
Get your rosaries off my ovaries.
But the deal is, nobody, male or female, gets to do what they want to do with their bodies. This body can't go and steal something. This body can't punch you in the face, like a couple of my friends have got punched in the face recently by the other side. So you can't do whatever you want to do with your body. You can't hurt your spouse with your body. So you don't get to do whatever you want to do with your body just because you're a female. And guess what? It's not your body. Your body is what's speaking to me right now. That's not your body. Follow the science. We deal with science. Well, deal with the science. Scientifically. Its own genetic code. It's male within you. And so on. Stop saying it's your body. It's not your body. I mean, this is bogus. So maybe we can't convince people that are doing that, because some people know exactly what they're doing. What about your kids? This is a golden opportunity for conversation. And anytime we have the conversation, whether it's in our crisis pregnancy center or whatever, we usually win the argument 80% of the time, because we're based on the natural law, based on reason, based on science, based on Christ and his church.
Well, you know, and you might be at home thinking, well, maybe I can't do what Eric just asked me to do, to go to a rally or to be present or to be out on the street. Well, you can go to EWTN.com/pro-life rosary, and you could, maybe you're saying, you know what, maybe I have been quiet, maybe I have been silent on this issue. It is too emotional, maybe it's political, maybe whatever your argument has been to not do anything, certainly right now is a time to join in to say, I'm going to pray.
Yeah.
And Eric had a great, in the beginning of the year, Eric's organization did a thing where you signed up online to pray for the Supreme Court justices. Well, we still need to pray for them. We need to pray for them and for their families and everything that's going on. We need to pray that the hidden things would be revealed and the secret things would be made known, and this person or people who have unloaded this leak on the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court Alito's document, that this would be found out. Why is this taking so long? Is this a mystery?
Yeah.
And so we have to pray. We have to be a people of, we have to be full of love, we have to be full of hope, and we have to be full of peace. And at the end of the day, we got to believe. I think we are the closest we've been in our nation's history to it going back to the states, right? Where it will go back to the states and the states will decide. And maybe. And so we have to be prayerful that that's going to go the distance and that will happen.
So we have a comment here. In my opinion, the Roe v. Wade issue is not even a specifically religious issue, since the bottom line is the safeguarding of defenseless human beings, although at an earlier, more dependent stage of development than if they were outside of the womb. Thus, once the human being is brought into existence, conceived, he or she is entitled to all the rights enshrined in the Constitution, especially the right to life. In spite of the decision or wishes of the mother or parents, no one has the right to take an innocent human life, especially one's own son or daughter. And this is Nicholas on Facebook. You know, well stated that, yeah, I mean, we could just make the case not based on religion, based on, like we said earlier, science, genetics, that this is a human being, this is not a different kind of animal. You know, this is proven by science, and that science has agreed that life begins at conception. We know that, but we're not imputing to that conceived child or the child in the womb that this child is a person. That's where the Constitution, you know, comes in. But Roe versus Wade isn't going to decide whether this is a person or not, whether this is really constitutional. If it comes out against Roe versus Wade, it's simply saying abortion's not in the Constitution. Therefore, we can't decide on this. Let it go back to the states to decide. In my view, I think it's kind of like what you're saying, and I think in Clarence Thomas's view, and I might be wrong, he doesn't even think it should be kicked back to the states, I don't think. Because he's saying nothing should be kicked back to the states when we can prove it's a human being. Nobody has the right to decide on any of it. So returning it to the states is a helpful thing instead of it being federalized, that we can kill children. And I think we should, you know, most of the times when we say abortion, just put the word in kill and see what it sounds like. You know, I have a right to abortion. I have the right to killing. Really? Well, it's kind of different, isn't it? What do you mean when you say abortion? What do the physicians, doctors, if you want to call them that, who do abortion, what do they mean when they say abortion? They don't speak of the right to choose or this and that. They're speaking about how you kill, how you terminate a baby in the womb. That's really what it is. And I say that mercifully to those 63 million aborted children, and half of those are women who've had abortions. Guys have been involved with it. Mercy. No ultimate judgment. But we need to face reality, because that's the first step in healing and in restoration and forgiveness, and to heal this wound and to cast out the demonic spirits that foster and infiltrate the abortion rationale, mentality, and screaming that we're hearing now.
Well, we have a caller. Kathy is on the phone, and she's from Michigan. Kathy, welcome to At Home with Jim and Joy. Your question or your comment?
Thank you very much for taking the call. I love your show. Keep up the great work. In response to the potential of overturning Roe versus Wade, I think this is an ideal opportunity for all Catholics and Christians to do more to support daycare centers with their volunteer hours and gentle ways of really not condemning folks, but really getting into some of the nitty-gritty reasons why a woman might opt for an abortion just simply because she can't afford daycare for her child and working. We all, as adults, know that sometimes we've been wrong about things, and to have someone celebrating success that we were wrong and you were right, that doesn't always go a long way towards improving the situation, right? And when you think about Jesus, when he resurrected, he didn't go back to all the soldiers and, I rose,
Yeah.
you were wrong, and I am God. And he didn't do that. He quietly went about making life better, continuing to heal, and continuing to build God's kingdom. And I think that's what we need to do. Catholics started the universities, right? Catholics started the hospitals, right? This is a time for Catholics and all Christians to join together and do more to help the underpinning reasons why folks have an abortion in the first place, and that will in turn help getting things on the state laws passed in a way that we know is favorable to God's rule.
Kathy, thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
going to close this section of the show with your beautiful words about loving them both, about mercy and forgiveness, and about those who are on the opposing side who could become some of the greatest leaders on the other side in the pro-life movement. We'll be right back. Thanks for your participation. There's plenty more to come. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, before we wrap up today's show, we're going to go to Rome to check in with Joan Lewis. Now, Joan, what's the latest news coming from Rome?
Well, greetings, Jim and Joy. And the word joy is the word to use to describe yesterday's event right behind me in St. Peter's Square. For the first time in such a ceremony since 2019, Pope Francis created 10 new saints at the beginning of Mass in a sunsplash St. Peter's Square in the midst of about 50,000 faithful. Thousands more, of course, arrived for the Regina Coeli. Now, the 10 new saints were from Netherlands, Italy, France, and India, and they all lived between the 16th and the 20th centuries. Now, interestingly enough, as you know, Pope Francis has been meeting people and addressing people from a wheelchair for about 10 or 12 days now. He has a very bad issue in his right knee. But he did preside at part of the Mass, and he did sit to give his homily. So between sitting and standing, he managed to get through the entire ceremony. Now, there were 10 people canonized. I only have time really for 3 of the stories today. They're probably even among the better known. One of the new saints, Charles de Foucauld, a 19th century French nobleman, explorer, and geographer. He became a Trappist monk and a missionary to Muslims in Algeria. And his name was Brother Charles of Jesus. He was killed in 1916 at the age of 58. Then we have Saint Titus Brandsma. He was a Dutch priest, professor, and journalist. He fought Nazism, Nazi propaganda his entire life. He was sent to Dachau concentration camp, where he was killed by lethal injection in 1942. Now, a lot of the journalists, because of Titus's background as a journalist, would like to see him made co-patron of journalists, along with St. Francis de Sales. Now, the third saint to kind of stand out yesterday was the first layman to ever be canonized from India. And his name was Devasahayam Pillai. He was a layman, as I said, from India, but he converted to Catholicism from Hinduism. He was brutally tortured, beaten, and killed. And he lived in the 18th century. So some pretty amazing stories. I wish we had time for the other 7. But an interesting little side note. When Brandsma was beatified by Pope John Paul in 1985, the Dutch florists provided all the flowers for the beatification ceremony. And that was kind of the precursor to the Dutch florists who today, still today, provide flowers at Easter time for the altar in St. Peter's Square. So a great contribution was a white avalanche rose from a Dutch grower, and they decorated. So on that beautiful note, I close, and back to you.
Thanks so much, Joan, for that wonderful report. I want to close our time with part of the reading from yesterday's reading at Mass from the book of Revelation, a new heaven, a new earth coming down as a bride for the groom. And the words of these, behold, God's dwelling is with the human race. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will always be with them as their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, no more mourning, wailing, or pain, for the older things have passed away. The one who sat on the throne said, behold, I'll make everything new. Life, marriage, and the family will prevail. We know the outcome. May we have a serene peace and confidence. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.